Before I get into this presentation this evening, there's one announcement I want to make to the board and to the public, and that is the recent promotion of somebody who's been dedicated to the township for a long time. He's really done a nice job. He's a big reason the master plan has moved forward this evening, and Peter Menser has been promoted to principal planner for the township, which is the highest level underneath the director. So congratulations, Peter. So with that, let's get started. So in the 2017 goals that were set well over a year ago, I won't go through all of them because you're well aware of them, of what we hope to accomplish in 2017, all the way from the master plan to redeveloping our core commercial areas. Of course, before you this evening is the adoption of the master plan, which has been talked about for a long time, and we hope in the next couple of hours we move forward with an adopted master plan. We established a Brownfield Redevelopment Authority in 2017, which one of the target goals of the township. We came out with a new brand a few months ago. We updated our website. I can tell you that we still have work to do on the website. It's not where we want it to be, and we'll work on that over the next few months. MERS pension debt was an albatross around this township for years and possibly decades. And through the work of many, including our chiefs, people, also board members, and our community members, we're able to put that behind us and move forward after August 8th. We established Meridian Redevelopment Fund, the CIA, a Corridor Improvement Authority. We're enrolled in the Redevelopment Ready Community through the MEDC. We move forward on a number of things for economic development. In the area of diversity, we also moved forward this past year in a number of ways. We're not where we want to be in that effort, but we're really making strides, and we'll continue to work in the area of diversity. Collective bargaining agreements, I won't go through all that's in front of you, but keep in mind, and we'll use an example of just the fire department, the changes in multiplier, and they may seem insignificant to some, but the changes in just the multiplier for the fire department for new employees versus current is about a 40% reduction over the term of the pension over 25 years. It's a significant modification. And this community did it right. We did modifications before we went and asked for more money from our residents. And I applaud everyone in this room for doing it the right way. We settled 5 of our 7 bargaining agreements, which was not easy to do, based that we were going after modifications and more contributions from the employees. But 5 are settled. We're still working on the police side of the table. We attended the Diversity Career Fair. We did a number of things. I think you'll hear more about that this evening, our efforts to diversify our workforce to better match the makeup of our community. It's a top goal that we have. The regional approach for COSTCO. It wasn't just COSTCO coming here, it was the regional approach between East Lansing and Meridian that made it happen. Local roads, we pumped an additional $300,000 beyond the millage, our levy that we have of 0.3 or 0.25. The board authorized an additional $300,000, which is about 75% of our millage. So an additional 75% of funds into local roads because it's important to our residents. Outdoor warning sign was just installed last week at the Central Fire Station. That was one of the goals this year. We need to do more in that area, and we're going to do that. We now have, I think, 6 outdoor warning sirens. We need an additional 6 over the coming years. A new ambulance was purchased for the fire department, which some of you were able to actually tour and go through the new ambulance, which is really a great addition to our fleet. Blue card training is really all about incident command at a scene, and our fire department went through the blue card training, and we now are in a good place when it comes to incident command training for our high-level fire officers. New body cameras for the police department. You may recall the first batch that we have really didn't meet our standards. We went with a new system that was chosen by the leadership of the department, Chief Hall and Assistant Chief Plaga, and I think we're really in a good place when it comes to body cameras. Community events, I won't go through all of them, but you know, because some of you attended them, some of you volunteered at them. We had a number of community events this year celebrating our 175th Great work by our communications and parks team and our public works and police teams. Distributed antenna systems, so the board worked through that long task of coming up with an ordinance. I applaud you for your efforts. I know Supervisor Steichen spent a lot of time on that issue and led that through with Director Guthrie and others. Golf course amendment, this is something Trustee Opsimer brought to the table. The work through the Planning Commission and through the board, and we're able to get that done to I think not only assist our residents, but level the playing field for developers as they come in and know that we want to be able to maintain open space where it counts. The mural at Hillbrook Park, if you haven't been up to see that up in the Hazlet area, please stop by. It's a great addition to the community, and the new tennis courts and pickleball courts that are adjacent. The deer management program continues to be a success. We're not as successful, if you count number of deer, we're not as successful as we had been, but obviously it's due to the chronic wasting disease and the changes that we've had to incorporate into the program in the last 24 to 30 months. The new signage at Ted Blackwood's Park. The Lake Lansing Special Assessment District doesn't look like a lot. You put it up there, you say, yeah, we did it. Well, how many meetings and work and effort did that take of Mr. Perry and the staff to get that through? It's a lot of work to do these things. And if they weren't on the list, you'd hear about it. Sleepy Hollow Special Assessment District, another issue we're working through. These things take a lot of time, but they end up having a great benefit to a community. The Towner Road and Ardmore water mains. The East Lansing wastewater plant, keep in mind MSU, East Lansing, and Meridian all have usage in the plant that's owned by East Lansing, which is different than your water plant. We own the water plant. We do not own the wastewater plant, but Meridian and MSU are larger users of the East Lansing water plant than the city itself. I think we might be the highest user of the plant. So again, we're working through all the improvements. If you'd walked through that plant 24 months ago, you would have seen a need for a lot of improvements at the plant. The Mount Hope pathway, this thing's been talked about for 5 or 7 years, connecting the pathway from Mount Hope up to Okemos Road, and I appreciate Derek's efforts on that to get that accomplished this year. Not to mention the East Lansing path that's been talked about longer. And people who aren't here this evening, who aren't even with us any longer, would be very happy to see the pathway up in East Lansing and Meridian connected. Towner Road Park, we're making great strides in the park. We're about 50% way through completion. The farmers market, you're well aware of our plans to change the location of our farmers market from here on our campus across the street where we've been working with the mall. I appreciate all of Luann's efforts in this area. She's the one driving this to hopefully completion. North Meridian Park improvements, another a nice addition when we had a grant to put a pavilion on, which will be attached to this restroom facility at Meridian Road Park. Central Park, the trail connector, which basically starts at the current farmers market and winds its way over all the way over to Nancy Moore Park, and the addition of the dog park that's coming next summer at Central Park, which would be right across the street from hopefully the new farmers market. Working with the Hazlet Beautification Association, that's of course a big improvement for what we've seen in maybe 5 years ago from the way it looks. Great assistance between the township and the HBA. So that's where we are for 2017. What do we hope to do in 2018? So we want to, again, really focus on the core commercial areas, improving our insurance service, or ISO, Insurance Service Organization, fire rating. Right now we're a 4, we want to get to a 3. Long-term road funding, solar array, medical marijuana, redevelopment ready community diversity, website, public transportation, outdoor warning signs. That's the target of the action plan that the board came up with a week ago. So obviously this is a key area. Pension was #1 in 2017. I think the board would say that the redevelopment of these few blocks in Okemos and Hazlet has to be #1 as we go forward. Grand River continues to flourish for us, but we have these neighborhood core commercial areas that really need improvement. And we've done a number of things to present ourselves with the best chance possible in 2018 to move forward. And the same thing for Hazlet. It goes without saying both areas really need attention, and we are prepared to move forward. Our ISO rating, to get to a 4 to 3, it's tough going to get to a 3. I think there are less than 18% of the departments in Michigan are at a level 3, and it affects your insurance rating and your homeowner's insurance. No department in Michigan has a 1. It's tough to move, but we're going to work at it in 2018. The board has authorized the millage that we have for the roads contributes about $400,000. Well, the board's putting an additional $600,000 this year to bring us up to over $1 million that we'll be spending on roads in 2018. The solar array project and the climate sustainability plan are both going to be focuses in 2018. Medical marijuana, whatever the board decides to do, but we've got to move forward one way or the other in 2018. Redevelopment ready communities, we're working with the MEDC. Again, this is a big certification to get because it helps with your local funding. Curbside public transportation, the Ready Ride millage needs to be discussed. The millage that we have through that funds our service through CATA. The board needs to decide in 2018, because the funds run out in 2019, how are we going to go about this mill levy. We hope to raise $10,000 for Meridian Cares. That's a fund that supports people who have needs, whether that be rent, water bill, a whole assortment of areas that people have trouble with, especially in the winter months. This is a fund that we operate here locally within the township. The MTA Township of Excellence Award, it's not something we're just going to jump into, but I think Trustee DeShane, Trustee Jackson have brought this up over the past few months, and it's something we're going to look at possibility of getting involved in as we move forward. Additional outdoor sirens, yes, we have 6, but we need more if we want to cover the entire township, especially getting into the northern area of the township. I think we need approximately 5 or 6 more to cover the entire township. Carbon monoxide smoke detector program, we want to install 2,500 between this year and next year. That's a grant that's been received by our fire department. This is a great service to offer our residents, not just a smoke detector, but the complete carbon monoxide and smoke detector. Through Stephen's work and his department IT, we've been a little behind on updating our workstations. We're going to really attack it in 2018 with putting in 50 new computer workstations. We're going to develop a system where going all the way back for the last 25 or 30 years of home TV, putting everything in an archive so it's available. Some of this stuff's really interesting to watch back from the 80s. If you haven't done that, you need a little entertainment. It's a good way to spend an evening. Police accreditation, Chief Hall and his department are going to go through the Michigan Associations of Chief of Police to be accredited. This doesn't just happen in 1 year. I know the board had some questions about it last Tuesday night. It's a process that takes 2 or 3 years to accomplish. It's not an expensive venture, but it's something that I think really makes sense for Meridian Township and our department and our leadership. We're going to spend more time, and we talked about this last Tuesday, more time trying to focus on possibility of actually sending candidates to the police academy. It's a great way to increase your diversity among your department. It's something that the township's done years ago, and we may look at the possibility of doing that here in the near future. The contract with Williamstown Township, we've had 3 2-year contracts. It expires in 2018. The board needs to decide whether that's something that we want to continue doing. It expires at the end of 2018. It's about a $230,000 contract. Railroad quiet zones, that has been looked at over the past few months through the Transportation Commission. Again, this is going to be something we won't be implementing in 2018 because we don't have funding for it, unless the board decides they're going to take funds from. But this is something that I think needs to be further studied in 2018. Go through the vetting process of your budget in 2018 to decide if you're going to fund it in 19. We need to prepare for the census. Census is very important for us. Why? Because it happens every 10 years, and it really it impacts our funding every way you look at for local funding for local governments. One of the common denominators that you'll find is your township population. So we want to make sure that we get counted in 2020. We want to complete the construction of Towner Road Park in 2018. It's really going to be something that a lot of communities look at. When this project's completed through the Parks Commission and that department's great work, you're going to really be proud of this, this facility. To summarize all of this, I would put up the number one for last year, for this year, and for where we're going next year. And why? Because I think we all need to keep in mind that this year, and this kind of came and went, but this year we were ranked, I don't know, there's probably 1,800, 2,500 communities in Michigan, and we were ranked number one as a place to live in Michigan. I don't know how often that will happen in the next 100 years, but it happened in 2017, and I don't need to speak to it because the organization that ranked us number one, Schools, Housing, and Diversity and MSU, those are the reasons that we are ranked the number one community to live in Michigan. So all of our efforts, right down to body cameras, to parks, to what we're doing with education and what we're doing across the board, I think collectively, the folks behind me that make up the great team that we've had a great past year, and we really look forward to 2018 because we're going to accomplish a lot together. I'd be happy to answer any questions now, or if you want to deal with it under discussion, however you want to move forward, Supervisor.
Any questions right now for the supervisor, for the manager? Okay, thank you, Mr. Walsh, very much for that report. For the board members, it echoed what we saw the other night at our study session, but it was, I think, very good for the citizens as a whole to have a chance to see that, and appreciate the presentation.